So, you might have heard of the term trophy hunting for conservation, where hunters can pay anywhere up to $100,000 to hunt an animal of their choice. The individual chosen is carefully selected by an experienced hunter, and typically, an animal showing signs of sickness or an elderly male unlikely to reproduce again is picked. It can then be justified that the money brought in by trophy hunting is then directly put back into the conservation of the species. However, I do have to stress that this is effective management of conservation hunting, and unfortunately there are many instances where the management is poor, and this can lead to heavy population declines. The African big cats are a good example of species extremely vulnerable to overexploitation. If you consider their complex social systems, unnaturally high turnovers of adult males will increase the killings of young cubs. Solitary big cats like the African leopard are particularly sensitive to infanticide, because females have no defense for their young when they hunt. The African leopard has disappeared from at least 37% of its historical range and is still continuing to decline. With this statistic in mind, it seems alarming that 8 to 20% of gross national trophy hunting income in East and Southern Africa comes from leopards alone. Now you can probably see why it's critical that hunters can age and sex leopards correctly on the field, to be able to warrant effective conservation through trophy hunting. Let's take a look at how one study surveyed experienced hunters, biologists and guides in determining the age and genders of leopards in the Kruger National Park. The survey was completed by 225 participants. It contained 97 photographs of the known age and sex of leopards. In the first section of sexing the leopard, the participants were asked to determine whether the leopard was male or female. In the second section of aging the leopard, the phenotypic traits surveyed are the same traits that are used by hunters on the field. These consist of Number 1, the condition of the ears. Number 2, facial scarring. Number 3, nose pigmentation. And number 4, dewlap size. Each category was scored from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest or worst affected. These scores were all added together to determine an age for each leopard. The results that came in were quite interesting. Male leopards over 7 years were almost all sexed correctly, although we can see the percentage dropped considerably the younger the leopard, and a whopping 70% were incorrectly sexed from the under 2 years category. Now we can look at how they fared in determining the age of male leopards only. We can see from this graph, the accuracy for aging males correctly dropped considerably. Adult males between 4 and 6 and over 7 years were aged with more accuracy than the younger males. However, none of the 4 categories performed well, and in total, less than half of all the leopards surveyed were aged correctly. In total, participants misidentified 33% of the age and sex of all the leopards surveyed. To be able to truly warrant effective conservation, it is crucial that hunters on the field can accurately determine the age and sex of leopards, and given that the leopard is particularly vulnerable to the overhunting of adult males, it remains uncertain whether the term trophy hunting for conservation can really be justified.